into authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us. From personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation. Let me make sure y'all heard me. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. We are live this morning. I think I have to redo my intro because I wasn't on the stream. Oh my God. Like my audio be looking like it's on, but it says to add your stream, add your audio and video. Anyway, good morning. You are up this morning with Tanisha Talks Teas. I hope everybody had a great night. Everybody was safe, blessed, and up this morning to sip some tea. This morning we have Tiffany Haddish, y'all. She is making her way back to our screens one way or the other. Since Bad Boys 4 was the last time we really saw her doing anything career-wise. However, Tiffany Haddish, once again, is in our ears, in our faces for some controversial bullshit. So I'm just going to jump right. I have not listened to the clip. However, I've posted about it, like I retweeted about it, and it got a lot of controversial comments. So, okay, let's go ahead and share our screen and get into it. Once again, thank you, all my sippers across all social media platforms at Tanisha Talks Teas TV. Okay, so we're going to pull up Tiffany Haddish's interview she had and just sip some tea on it, okay? Let's take a listen to what's going on.
The internet probably gonna destroy me for this, but I think women that have more than 2 baby daddies usually have some sort of mental illness.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you're getting genetically modified too much. I think, okay, so this is what I know. Every time you get pregnant, right, there's stem cells that come from that baby, and them stem cells end up behind your eyes and your brain and your heart and your lungs and stuff and help your organs heal while the baby taken from you. And those stem cells will always stay with you, right? So that means that man is always in you. And that is why, the Bible says you will only desire your husband. Correct? This is why you gotta use condoms, because that baby better get up inside you, and the uterus is very porous, much like the mouth, right? So when anything goes up in there, it automatically the uterus starts to absorb it. It starts going through the vaginal walls and all that, and the blood, it gets into the bloodstream, right? And so, so it takes
get in there.
So it takes like 6 weeks to get a man out of your system if you have unprotected sex, and it's because he's starting to bind to your DNA, right? And that's why it's couples, when they be together too long, they start looking alike. You start looking like him. Wow. Like, it's not, the guy don't start looking like her. She start looking like him because he is genetically modifying her, and every time you get pregnant by him, you start to get modified, right? So if you get pregnant by multiple peoples, right, that's multiple spirits, multiple thoughts, multiple modifications from a different DNA strand to have mental stress. So and it even it's very evident, like what I'm saying is very evident and makes sense, because like you got all these dating apps, all these women like free sex, free this, whatever, I'm doing money, I'm living, I'm exerting my sexuality and all this, and I don't care if I got 5 kids or 5 baby daddies, whatever. Usually those bitches are mentally, they're struggling in so many different ways, not just financially, but also just like on where to focus, how to whatever, because you got too many different bloodlines in your blood.
Too many kids. I mean,
you have mental illness. So that was my theory on sperm.
That makes sense. That's very, very.
And that's why you can't just. That's why you have to use condoms, ladies. That's why you have to use condoms. And here's my theory, and I could be completely wrong, and the internet probably gonna destroy me for this, but I think
we are going to pause that. So as we heard, Tiffany Haddish gave a very informal, medicinal, if would have you, under her understanding of how mental illness can affect women with multiple children's fathers, right? So I have heard, along the lines of the genetic DNA mixing of partners. You know what I'm saying? Like their, say, genetic bloodlines and just the variations of it all with your, placenta, your uterus and everything else. Accepting the spermicide, egg, whatever, however have you, into, your elements to create a baby. It does flow through your bloodstream, right? And, you do take on whatever, DNA, however have you, from the person that you're receiving a child from, into your, genetic, design, essentially. So I can understand her logic behind saying that. However, I don't necessarily believe that it alters or changes your own DNA dynamic. I'm looking this shit up as we speak online, because this is the first time that I've heard this interview with Tiffany Haddish. I can understand where she tried to derive the mental illness possibly from. However, I don't think that it can be, necessarily, how am I trying to say this? I don't believe that it can be like completely proved scientifically. Okay, there we go. Like educationally, scientifically, for that to be a deciding factor of how a woman's personal own genealogy, DNA, and characteristics of what make her a human being can alter or change her from the inside, to put it blatantly. Okay. I don't think that can occur. So I, for one, I just don't see how, like it can necessarily get it. That would be like on some Venom type shit. How, a parasitic or however have you thing would get into your DNA, right? And essentially change the way that you see and feel and move and think and things like that. But what I do know is that, yes, the partner that you choose can alter and, ultimately affect the things and the outcomes and the ways of, how you moving forward with now reproducing with another person. the baby can be a complete angel that you have with someone that could be a fucking serial killer. And I mean, those have been, proven. Lots of serial killers in our society have children, and their children are undetectable as far as being on the radar for being like their parents, because just simply because of their DNA. We only know them to be who they are because they've came forward, and or in their communities where they're from, naturally who came from who. So therefore, you would know, why they're there and how they came to be. I don't necessarily so much adhere to understanding Tiffany Haddish's reasoning behind why she said women with multiple babies' fathers have mental illness. I have multiple babies' fathers, and I do not have mental illness. What I do have is depression. I'm not even going to hold you. I do have severe depression from the facts of the surrounding circumstances of how I became to have multiple children's fathers. But I am very well, intact with all of my I'm not bipolar, I'm not schizophrenic, I'm not multiple personality disordering, I'm not any of that shit. I can be crazy, of course. I deal with multiple children and multiple children's fathers. So I mean, however, I never felt that if someone that I reproduce with may have, had a understanding or a background or a bloodline of something, that maybe he came from a serial killer or something of the sort. I've never felt like killing someone. I've never felt like, oh, okay, now because I have allowed this bloodline to mix with my bloodline, I feel like I've taken on whatever strand of DNA they have inside of them. I feel it inside of me because I allowed this person to reproduce with me. I've never felt that way. I've never taken on anybody else's ideologies or anybody else's certain genetic dynamics because of allowing them to reproduce with me. Now, I am a singled out soul. I have no idea what anybody else may be going through. I have not um research this. I may do so, but I don't believe that just because you let a man transfer his spermicidal fluids for reproductive purposes into your body, that you now take on yourself whatever DNA another person may have inside of them to become like them, or have you move or alter your change of course that way. I do know that uh, economically, emotionally, financially, physically, yes, those things can change and alter the way you perceive and look at the rest of the world. However, but every single case is completely different, and that is a whole nother conversation. I may spend a little bit of time. We're only at 13 minutes with this because I have a lot of more stuff I need to get to today. I'm not really thinking about Diddy. I'm really thinking about getting into other, celebrity hot topics. And I do have a interview that I got to prepare for about a murdered 3-year-old boy. His mother wants to come on our platform and tell her story and get more eyes on her story, because the police are saying her son killed himself, and she's saying that's not what happened. So anyway, yeah, it really can, you know, um, just be life situations. If you ask, what I'm saying, anybody who have, even one baby's mother or baby's father, you see what I'm saying, can alter the course of your life if, what I'm saying, they are a person that you just felt, oh my God, I really should have reproduced with that person. I mean, I don't think it takes multiple people to necessarily have that occur. I know it could happen with one motherfucker. So, and I just don't see, how it can be, um, from the genetics of a person transferring fluids into your body, because I'm fine. And I mean, I have my moments. I do, occasionally, life's us with us all, and I suffer from some depression. And if I don't take care of my depression, then of course, life won't life for me. I'll just be stuck in a fucking depression. Not for nothing. I'm not, I have no other diagnosed mental illnesses on myself because trust me, I've been evaluated and assessed throughout my life. And I've never ever came back with a formal diagnosis of anything but depression. So I mean, it's just something that I think Tiffany Haddish thought that she was going to use as a, way to kind of cloak how she really felt about women with multiple babies' fathers. And I think that that's what she came up with to be the most safest, way to say that bitches that got multiple kids are fucking crazy. Like, however have you. And I think she just, dug into her little grab bag of goodies of research, and informative information, medically and theoretically, and that's what she came up with. But like I said, I've never in my life, and I've heard a lot of um, people talk, professional people of the therapeutic world talk about the exchange of bodily fluids, especially when you exchange them through anyway. But for reproduction, for one, I've never heard anyone explain it to where it can cause you mental illness because of you allowing multiple partners to reproduce with you, and then it somehow altering the DNA course of what you got going on mentally, physically, however she tried to explain that. We're gonna listen to that one more time. But I for one don't see it. I just think that that was a way for Tiffany Haddish to say that women with multiple babies' fathers are fucking crazy. So we're gonna listen to it one more time, tea sippers.
Women that have more than two baby daddies usually have some sort of mental illness.
Oh. Really?
Yeah, because you're getting genetically modified too much. I think, okay, so this is what I know. Every time you get pregnant, right, there's stem cells that come from that baby. And them stem cells end up behind your eyes and your brain and your heart and your lungs and stuff and help your organs heal while the baby taken from you. And those stem cells will always stay with you, right? So,
and as you heard, the baby's taking from her. You see what I'm saying? Like, the only thing that the baby's really putting into the woman's body is feces. We transfer our genetic tissues, right, into the baby through the placenta, through the umbilical cord, right? The baby's taking from you. Okay, you're not necessarily receiving any of what the baby is giving out. And I hope like we can get, because I'm researching this as I'm talking about this shit. I know that a baby can defecate inside of you, right? And so, I mean, I don't necessarily see how this is physically possible. I've heard what Tiffany Haddish is referring to. I've heard this before, that the baby comes, well, not what she's saying, but I heard that, like, it comes from every molecule in your body to produce this baby. All the father needs to do is shoot one little bitty tiny molecule of a sperm in you, but it takes every ounce of the mother, you see what I'm saying, to produce this baby. The baby doesn't even have eyeballs. Tiffany Haddish, once it enters into the mother's uterus, it is an egg. It doesn't even have an eyeball, which is the reason why women can have abortions, up to a certain point, because the baby isn't formed. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know, but yeah.
That means that man is always in you. And that is why, the Bible says you will only desire your husband, correct? This is why you got to use condoms, because that baby better get up inside you.
And yes, a man can forever live inside of a woman theoretically, if a woman never like takes care of herself, like if you don't flush, and this is with anything, right? Say you're an alcoholic and you drink excessively. If you don't detox yourself and drink plenty of water and flush out your body, then of course those toxins are going to live inside of your body, which is the reason why women, have a lot of things occur, especially if they have a lot of unprotected sex, and men, leave their cells behind inside of a woman. They can get bacterial infections. They can get urinary tract infections. They can get, all types of different infections. So a woman needs to cleanse her body so that whatever is left over from whatever you're doing that's not meant to stay inside of your body, after you're done doing it, you're supposed to flush out your system. No man is still living inside of a woman after he had sex with her 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago, unless she's not taking care of herself. Okay, that's common knowledge. So whatever, Tiffany Haddish.
The uterus is very porous, much like the mouth, right? So when anything goes up in there, it automatically, the uterus starts to absorb it. It starts going through the vaginal walls and all that, and the blood, it gets into the bloodstream, right? And so, so it takes
get in there.
So it takes like 6 weeks to get a man out of your system if you have unprotected sex, and it's because he's starting to bind to your DNA, right? And that's why it's couples, when they be together too long, they start looking alike.
All right. So, according to the Great World Wide Web, most genetic variants don't directly cause mental disorders. It's only in rare cases that genetics can cause mental disorders. Like I said, that goes back to if you're born to a serial killer, right? It's not 100% that you're going to inherit the traits of a serial killer. There may be some variables. And if you attach yourself to it, you can increase it definitely. But it's not a 100% accurate guarantee that if you are born from someone with, how do we say it, bad apple genes or whatever, bad genes, that you're going to put those genes on and walk in their footsteps. That's not 100% accurate as far as genetics go. So the best thing to do to understand this, y'all, would be to consult a physician, consult a doctor, a therapist, okay, someone that understands more so along the lines of, in a professional way, exactly how that works. I don't think Tiffany Haddish may be saying it informationally, but I don't know if the information she's giving out is as accurate as she wants it to come across.
You start looking like him.
Wow.
Like, it's not, the guy don't start looking like her. She start looking like him because he is genetically modifying her. And every time you get pregnant by him, you start to get modified, right? So if you get pregnant by multiple peoples, right, that's multiple spirits, multiple thoughts, multiple modifications from different DNA strands to have mental stress. So, and it's very evident, like what I'm saying is very evident and makes sense because, like, you got all these dating apps, all these women like free sex, free this, whatever, I'm doing, but I'm living it, I'm exerting my sexuality and all this, and I don't care if I got 5 kids or 5 baby daddies, whatever. Usually those bitches are mentally, they're struggling in so many different...
Well, that doesn't necessarily correlate back to because of the man's DNA. Okay? There are lots of women that have multiple children's fathers and do not have mental illness. So I just don't see the correlation. And like I said, it's not however you say that. It's not, it's not proven to be found out that it correlates back to each other. That, you can how do you say it? That you can like reference one with the other. Mental illness and DNA transfer from reproducing children. It's just not found. So and studies have found no evidence that male DNA is routinely retained from sexual partners with pregnancy. Okay. So there's no evidence of this. Is what I'm reading. There's no evidence of routinely retained from sexual partners with pregnancy. So I'm not seeing it. There have been 1 in 1 billion studies that they have found after 27 years of a woman being intimate with a man, that they found her DNA in her brain and blood cells. But that's 1 in 1 billion. Like, you cannot say that every woman with multiple babies' fathers has this occurrence going on. This is a test so far fetched that it wouldn't even apply if you threw a rock in a crowd and it wouldn't hit nobody. Most genetic variants do not directly cause mental disorders.
Different ways, not just financially, but also just like on
financially. Exactly. Financially is not a genetic disorder. That's not something that comes from you genetically. Okay, that is a complete mindset. There are a lot of people that were dirt poor and are now wealthy rich. That happens. If it wasn't possible because of their genetic bloodline was financially poor. However, Tiffany Haddish is trying to put this out to come across to the audience. That would have never been able to happen. That would have never been able to happen. Lots of people come from absolutely nothing and make a lot of something out of their lives in the world. So financially, none of that shit can be tied back to DNA. None of it at all.
Where to focus, how to whatever, because you got two.
Well, if you're a scatterbrain bitch and you're always focused on your baby daddy and what your baby daddy has going on, and you got multiple baby daddies and you're scatterbraining and you're not focusing on the here, the now, the what. We already know, how, the why rather. We already know how it happened. Now we need to focus on why it happened, who it happened with, you know what I'm saying? What you need to do to heal, where you need to not look at so that you won't continue to have multiple children with multiple men, continuing the cycle. You see what I'm saying? You need to break that shit. Stop that shit and break that shit, right? It's so much more. I don't think it has anything to do with because of the man left his spermicidal DNA behind in you after he had sex with you and made a baby with you. I don't think that's possible. But like I was saying, if women are scatterbraining around and they're not focusing on their, core issues, getting therapy, surrounding themselves in communities around people that are there to help and not hinder them, and not put them in a corner and try to attack them because of that's their situation, and now they're in the corners of the world and not they're coming out of the corners with the only thing that they know how to come out of the corners with, and that's make a baby with me. Now I'll feel important again in the world somehow, some way. You know what I'm saying? And start letting these women know they have options other than laying down and trying to get back up, which can be very hard to do unless you only want to stand up on the government assistance of welfares and things like that. But letting women know there are options, there are resources, there are communities that do still care about the fibers of family, right? Then that helps. That can get women with multiple children out of the mindset of the only way that I can come out of this corner fighting is if I lay back down under another motherfucker and have another baby, and maybe hopefully this time, okay, it'll work for us and we'll have the family dynamic that I've always longed for as a woman. So I don't buy this shit that Tiffany Haddish is saying. Like I said, I know all too well. A lot of the women that I associate with, we know all too well what it looks like, and the majority of us do not have mental illnesses because of multiple children's fathers. So whatever.
Too many different bloodlines in your blood.
Too many kids. I mean, that'll do it,
yeah, you have mental illness. So that was my theory on sperm.
That makes sense. That's very,
and that's why you can't just. That's why you.
Like I said, I do agree with her on the concept of condoms, very, very much so. I don't know why condoms have been taken out of the equations, but we're going to get to some of the comments. We're going to sign off on Tiffany Haddish this morning. Okay. So a lot of people chimed in with a lot of different comments for Miss Tiffany or whatever. Hell, I can go to my thing. Lots of people chimed in on those. Let me see. Girl, hold on, y'all. So y'all let me know what y'all think about how Tiffany explained why she thinks women with multiple children by different men have mental illness. And like I said, I think she used that DNA shit to try to cover up, what she really thought or whatever. Okay. I really do. That's my daughter's aunt calling me. Oh. And I think I found some comments. So let's read some comments. Yvette Armstrong says, once is a mistake, twice could be a result of death of the first one, but when you're in above baby daddies, that's a choice, or chasing someone that's not for you. Having a baby won't make it happen either. Yeah, I said it. Sandra Ellis, and I agree, women operate from a mental state of mind to a certain point in a woman's mind, and maybe not all, but some in our mind. We're looking for something in a man that you didn't get with the one before. You're trying to achieve or win the ultimate prize if you'll stay around long enough. To me, that is mental. It doesn't mean a woman is slap insane kind of crazy, but in the sense of trying to reach that mark you have stuck in the back of your mind. And it's usually trying to get to that will finally see you. Your heart and my husband's in the background going, your heart and comment a life with you. Many women will not admit that because of the strong women movement. But for me, I think it's a real thing. Some may not even realize that it's what they want to themselves or anyone else. But the thought is there. We hide our feelings for many reasons, but the truth is the truth. And I wholeheartedly second Miss Sandra Ellis. We must. The only way that I was ever able to have a life after having multiple babies' fathers and being married now 11 years, me and him have 2 children together, and we have a blended family, is understanding my truth. Like, I blamed a lot of my family dynamic and lack of non-supportive systems in place. However, I also ultimately had to understand, that I chose to not abort these children, and I'm glad that I didn't. But I chose to have these children. I chose to give them life in this world, regardless of however I looked at it, So I had to, understand that I needed to take accountability and not say, well, it was because of lack of the supportive understanding of becoming a woman and what it looked like to hold a sacred covenant of myself in the reproducive way that I brought children into the world. It's not that I lackadaisically did that. I just continued to search for something until I thought I had it. And unfortunately, it wasn't. But thankfully, I found out soon enough before I continued to, stay in situations that wholeheartedly would have definitely hindered me from ever achieving any type of milestone to be able to take care of these children that I do have in this life. God knows where I would be if I would have stayed with, before I got married 11 years ago, to the partner that I have now, where I would be to even be able to take care of the children that I had prior to meeting him. period. So, I mean, there, and like I'm saying, there is hope, but women, we have got to understand who we are. If you're putting yourself out in spaces and places and you're attracting the same thing that you've always gotten before, that's exactly what you're always going to wind up with. You're never, ever going to find anything other than what you've always had if you continue to put out the same narrative and the same vibes and the same mental capacity and the same spaces and places where you've always found the shit that you've always known was not for your life. You got to grow up. You got to get in different, mindsets, circles, areas of life, and start to regroup, restart, refocus yourself on a whole new restoration design of your life. Because I'm not going to hold you. I know lots of girls that got multiple babies' fathers, including myself, that live very successful lives today. And we're doing absolutely wonderful with ourselves. And it takes a lot. Like, people are like, Tanisha, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm all right. They're like, no, you're doing wonderful. Like, you're doing great. Like, I'm doing okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never, ever really try to, like, say, oh, my God, my life. Thank God. I mean, I do to God. Oh, my God, my life. Thank God for my life. I do to Jesus. But, like, I don't really put that vibe out to society so much because society is the devil. This is an evil world we live in. And I just don't, it's the variations and the vibes of the universe for me now. Like, that's how I move in my life, according to the flow of what the universe is doing. And right now the universe is on some fuck you shit. You know what I'm saying? So I don't necessarily so much put I'm so happy vibe out there because it's too many devils out here. But yes, I am doing amazing in my life, considering the course that my life could have been on. If I would have stayed dealing with the Pookies, I would have been a fucking Pookisha instead of a Tanisha. And, it just wouldn't have been a good look for me. It would have not been what my grandmothers and my grandfathers designed me to be. And so I'm thankful that I was able to do it. And all the women, y'all know, y'all my Facebook friends, y'all my YouTube girls, my sippers, okay? Y'all know I ain't lying. A lot of my girls have gone on to do incredible, wonderful things. Their kids are doing incredibly wonderful. And that's just what this is. And we're still very much desirable. And I'm telling you, it is only because of the fact that we are standing on straight business. Nothing more, nothing less. We're not hiding shit. We're not sugarcoating shit. We're not, making excuses. Not every woman is not holding herself accountable. If I did some shit that I know I 100% had my toe in it, even my pinky toe, I'm holding myself accountable. That's the only way I'm ever going to get a different result in different circumstances down the fucking road for myself. So, more comments. We're going to sign off on Tiffany Haddish. Why is what another person has going on in life another person's topic to chime in on? Every situation are different. Like, some of us have fathers who died. Okay, like Leslie Burns says, it is true that DNA can be found inside women's bodies years later. It's called microchimerism, but it's very rare, like 1 in a billion, and like it doesn't alter your DNA. It does not alter your DNA. It can be detected. It can be detected, yes. It's very rare. It's a very rare occurrence, though. It's not something that is often. I mean, because figure, if it was something that was exchangefully happening often, the people that murder people at will for no reason at all, they got kids all throughout this motherfucker. Don't you think that their children genetically would be like, ow, and it would click in their brains like, I'm a serial killer. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not happening. So, like I said, our the way we see the world, the way, we ourselves, who we come from, that's what genetically makes you, emotionally moves you, and can financially and emotionally and physically determine, who and what you are, who and how you are. Okay. So those are some comments. Drop down in the chat, y'all. I had to chime in today and let y'all, sip some tea with me about what's going on, talk some tea with y'all about what's going on with Tiffany Haddish, all in the blogs right now, talking about, how this is the reason why she thinks women have mental illnesses and have multiple babies' fathers. I just think it's because that's what she wanted to put out there. So she went and looked up this DNA shit that she's, trying to make us feel the reason why women with multiple baby fathers have issues. No, we haven't dealt with trauma. A lot of it could be from so many different reasons. Every single person in the world has their own variables about how the fuck they came into this bitch and how they're gonna come out. No one single story, two single stories, three single stories are the fucking same for any one of us. Yeah, we may have some similarities, but none of us walking this earth, not even twins, have the exact same occurrences occurring to them every single second of the day. So I'm just not buying this shit. I'm not buying it, Tiffany.
Here's my theory, and I could be completely wrong, and the internet probably gonna destroy me for this, but I think women that have more than two baby daddies usually have some sort of mental illness.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you're getting genetically modified
too much. Before I sign off, what was the mental illness that you think Tiffany Haddish had inside of her when before she became famous to be the Tiffany Haddish that we all knew, some of us loved, right? Her and a comedian named Aries Spears dropped some type of a video where they were actually abusing a very small minor child in an exploitive homosexual video where Aries Spears was in a fucking bathtub, naked or in boxer shorts, and the little boy was getting in the bathtub with him and all this stupid shit. Tiffany Haddish had a big situation surrounding this situation behind a child. Tiffany Haddish has no children, none. So where and what started with her fucking mental illness? Where did her mental illness come from? Because I am a mother of multiple children by multiple fathers, and I have never in my life thought about exploiting a child in any way, shape, or fashion, in any way. So I don't even have to say actually, in any fucking way, doing anything exploitive to a child for no reason whatsoever. And Tiffany Haddish has, and she has no children. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, where does your mental illness start at? What brought your mental illness on? Was it because your mother had multiple fathers for her and it passed on to you in some type of way? After she had multiple children, she had you, and the genes that were left over from the DNA that was left inside your mother from possibly having multiple babies' fathers exchanged into you. Was one of them fucking crazy and a child exploitive abusive person? Because if this is what you're saying can happen, then how did it happen to you? Because we clearly know that you got mental fucking illness, Tiffany Haddish. We saw you actually exploit and abuse a minor child with a comedian named Aries Spears. We saw you do that shit. Okay. Not for nothing. Like I said, that's going to be my tea talk on Tiffany Haddish. Thanks for joining Tanisha Talks Teas today. I'll be back at, I got some, personal business affairs to tend to with my own tea to sit. But once I, get all of my matters of affairs in order, because women with multiple babies' fathers, I don't know, we couldn't possibly know where to start or begin at. I do. So not for nothing. Like I said, once I continue to get, my day going and shit, I might come back up here and do a couple more stories. There's some tea floating out here, y'all. It's some tea. We hear Diddy is said to maybe be, the jurors may determine the outcome of his fate today. Deliberate on his charges, RICO charges. We will definitely be up covering that this week as well. Yesterday I did some, hot tea topics on R. Kelly, Fat Joe, Tyler Perry, and Wendy Williams. I'll go check that out. It was pretty cute. So yeah, we're just gonna keep growing our platform. It looks great. I love my aesthetic, right? It looks really, really cute. It looks professional. My assistant, that's my assistant. I still haven't gave her a name yet. I don't know what I'm gonna call my assistant right here, but I'm working on getting her like into an AI moment where like she can talk and sip her tea and shit. I don't think I'm on the right platform though. Streamlabs, I use Streamlabs. They said that I'm not really able to use an AI bot, robot or whatever for my personal assistant. I don't fucking know. But I'm working on like my platform's growing. It's growing, and it is showing. We're only a day away. So anyway, thank you guys so much for sipping tea with Tanisha Talks Teas. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this bullshit, this mononica or whatever. How you say that shit? This malarkey. This anarchy shit. I don't know about what Tiffany Haddish got going on. Like I said, yes, you can leave DNA behind in people, but it's very fucking rare, especially if you take care of yourself. You can clean and cleanse your body, which you're supposed to do by eating right, detoxing, things like that. I don't know. Like I said, I know I don't have any DNA in me from a man that has ever transferred for the purpose of reproduction in me, and it altered the way that I think, feel, or do anything, move any of that shit. So yeah, y'all real ones, continue to be your true, real, authentic self, and life will give you true, real, and authenticness. This has been Tanisha Talks Teas. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing. Keep your teacups filled and ready for my next upload. Until then, stay inspired and remember, always stay dipping.